Hi everyone, and welcome to Words with DatOneLady.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the podcast. It's been a while I did an episode with a guest, and I'm excited. Today I have a guest in the house, and he's one of my OG goons, I'll say. That's how I put it. Anyway, before I go too far and say too much, hey guest, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Kunle. I'm super excited to be on this.
Yay! Myself and Cody have been planning that one day we need to do this. Anyway, today on the episode of the podcast, we'll be talking about finances. I asked recently that, guys, what do we talk about 2023? And someone said managing finances as a growing adult, like young adults who has left home and now you're trying to figure your finances. You have a good 9 to 5. I was like, who else to talk about money matters than my dear Okule to discuss money things? First and foremost, I'd like to know, when was the first time you said, when was that time that it dawned on you that it's time to start figuring out how to make sure that this money lasts?
Okay, I think it's all been in my background, So growing up, I've always watched a lot of financial, movie talking about finances or people talking about finances. And so funny because I grew up around a lot of accountants. I'm talking my dad, before he passed, he was a chartered accountant. I have an uncle I'm very close to. He was a chartered accountant. I remember when I was in college and I had to go live with an uncle as well. He was an accountant as well, working in the bank.
Wow.
So it's always like I've always been around these people who are just so, not just about them doing it on a regular basis, being a job, but we're talking about money conscious and being prudent about money. So, and I remember, growing up, my dad comes in to the house and he's like, here, say for example, he gives you 10,000 naira and he just gives it to you. He's not asking you to have the money for yourself, but you're now the bank in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So he's giving you the 10,000. So during the course of the week, Dad would be like, oh, we need to have grocery shopping. Oh, okay. Can you give your mom 2,000 naira? He doesn't say anything. Oh, I gave you 10,000 naira the other day, right? Okay, yeah. Can you give your mom 2,000? Oh, he wants to buy drinks. He wants to entertain guests. He tells you, hey, how about you go buy me so and so. And during the course of the week, maybe we go in house, we're going to get movies from the regular video club, which used to be the blockbusters. Things like that, you designate you like, oh, how about you go do this? Or give your brother this, give your mom that. And he tells me, and at the end of the week, he calls me to the living room. Can you give an account of what we just did? And I'm like, what? So he's trying to teach you that whenever you go into that space, you have to be cautious. So you have to write down. And this man is really telling you, like, tell me, how did you spend my money? I'm like, it's your money. You give the direction. But it's like, yeah, can you give me a breakdown of how we spent my money? So that was the lesson I learned earlier on. That which is, when you're going through these finances or when you're going through this budgetary, you have to be cautious of what you're doing. So the little me that I'm talking 14, 15, when he tells me, oh, do you want to can you get this for me? I have a pen and paper. I'm writing it down. Can you believe it's not my money? It's this man's money. But I'm having to document how this man spent his money because, trust me, at the end of the night or at the end of the week, he calls you to the living room and tells you, oh, can you give me an account of what we did? And it's funny that even to the last 20 naira, this man is asking you, you have to crack a brain. What did we do with that money? And I'm being serious.
God.
So that was the way it started for me. And, growing up, I'm sure you and I have spoken and you've seen me the way I am.
Yeah.
It's all developed into who I am today.
That's amazing. Come think about it. Actually, that's a good way to start. Like you're entrusted with like money gradually, and from there it becomes a part of you. So that means when you start working for yourself and earning your own money, you do not have any difficulty planning your finances.
To be honest, I woun't say I didn't have difficulty planning my finances. I'm being a guy here, and it's the norm when you start getting money. the kind of part of you, which will come into play. You want things, even things that you don't need. But no, so I mean that's another discussion for another day. Things do you need and things do you want or things do you desire? So and at the time, everything just crams into the space, and you're like, well, I have the money, I can afford it. I have the money, and I can afford it. Now, over time, it was now a question deep inside me: do I need it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Can I afford it? Can I afford it doesn't mean you don't have the money. That do I need this particular item right now? So, I mean, but to be honest, when I started making money, I made mistakes like everyone else did, which was, you blow it fast. Like it comes fast, you blow it fast. But I was able to catch myself over time because of the background and the upbringing I had. I was able to catch myself. Yeah.
That's quite interesting to think about, because you said two things. I said, do I need this thing? Do I want this thing? And do I have the finance? Do I have the finances to actually be able to get these things that I want to get? Which is quite interesting, and brings me to the question of, do you do you plan the money before it comes, or do you get the money then plan it?
All right, so it's funny because I'll set an example right here. There was a time that I was only using my 40-hour check, because I was opportune to have a job that I could work extra, I could make money extra overtime, and I did not go. I did not make decisions that would exceed the 40-hour check. Let me make this make sense to you now. We're talking about when you have your rent. Some people tell you that, whatever it is you're making, your rent or your mortgage should not be more than 33%. I mean, it's just a theory out there. People say, your bills and everything shouldn't be more than 25%. That puts you in. And so they're trying to tell you that at 40%, you should have been done with your bills. Everything. See, listen, but different people have different jobs and different compensations and different situations and different states. For example, a lot of people living in Massachusetts, you can't compare that living in Texas. Yeah. So you are able to make sure that whatever decisions you're making, you are making it with the idea of the money that will be coming in for you. So usually what I do is I make the plan in my head before the money comes in. Because when the money comes in, trust me, there's this loss that comes out of you that you're like, I tell you, $30, $40. So look at this. When you have $1,000 and you take $10 out of it, you don't have $1,000 anymore. You have $99. Now, when you have $50 out of it, you don't have $1,000 anymore. There's this mindset that tells you, I still have close to 1,000, but you don't have it. You have. So for me, I usually make the plan. Then when the money comes in, I'm able to disperse this finance just before it comes in.
That's amazing. Like having to plan the money, like having to have things that you want to do planned out, and then the money comes and is able to take care of it. So going back to the question of the percentages, because I think this would be important for people to know. People would want to know, so what, I get my money now, how much goes to bills? How much is imagine getting that 40-hour check for the first time, and you see the money looks big, and you're now okay, I think I can now get a new place. And people say, 30%. But I'm making good. At the end of the month is good. Why do I have to stick to 30%? Now, my question now would be, what do you think is the right percentage? What's the right, according to the way you've done things over time, what's the right percentage for rent and bills? And what should be left at the end of the month?
All right, so this is me. Anyone else could have it differently. But this is just how I've done it over time and has worked for me. I look at the money. I have an idea of the money coming in. And trust me, everyone has an idea of the money coming in.
Sure.
Except you're lazy tired and you don't go to work or stuff like that. Everyone has an idea of what's coming in. And we understand that there are some things called necessities. And the bills are part of it. And in this part of the world we live in, it's very essential. Of course, I grew up in Nigeria. I understand that there are no bills to be paid in Nigeria apart from, the groceries, and that's it, groceries and clothing, because you're talking about having the yearly payments for the rent, and people who own homes don't pay mortgage.
No.
But out here, it's different. So we're talking mortgage, so this goes back to so I think the most important thing here is the decisions for the disbursement. It's not the percentage itself. For example, you get a job and the 40 hour and the 40 hour check comes in. What decision are you making? Are you trying to live in a penthouse? Say, for example, you make $5,000 after taxes in a month. Are you trying to live in a penthouse that is going to cost you $3,500?
That's crazy.
Are you trying to live in a place that is going to cost you $1,500? So that's a decision that you will have to make. But ideally, how I've done things in the past is I make sure that whatever decisions I'm making, I'm having to have minimum of 25% of my income go to my savings. Minimum. And we're not talking checking account here. As a matter of fact, I do it automatically from my direct deposits.
Yeah.
It's in my elections. I put it in the elections for direct deposit, and I make sure that 25% goes into savings.
Yeah.
Now, I put that 75% back to 100% now. Does that make sense now? I put that 75% now back to 100%. I'm like, okay,
this is what I have to spend.
Yeah, this is what I have to spend. And I'm still going by the fact that now this 75 has become 100%, my bills cannot exceed 65. And it's very, very important. So this is the decision you're making. You want a car note, you want a phone, you want insurance. The decisions you're making at the time, you have to make it based on that 75 that you made 100. Because trust me, so I put it in a way for me that 25% of my check, it's not my earnings, it's my savings. And another conversation for another day, which is the savings. What is a saving supposed to be? Is a saving supposed to be that, I'm flying out to Cancun, to Tulum. I got money. I have to buy tickets for my. No, that's not what. Like I said, that's another conversation for another day. But the savings itself, it's the money that I don't own for emergency purposes only. But that's another discussion for another day.
Wow, that's quite interesting. I think I like the concept of 25% of the whole money that you get for your check goes to your savings, and the remaining 75% now becomes the whole that you then hold. And so, okay, this is all I have, and this is the only thing I have to spend. And out of that, 65% only goes to bills. So, like, you think about it properly. And again, very important conversation you brought out. So many of us do savings like, this savings, I'm going to use it to travel. I want to use it for this. I want to use it for that. So many people don't have emergency savings. And coming back to that conversation, I know people have said things like your emergency fund should be 6 months rent, so that in case anything happens to your your job, you're able to sustain yourself for 6 months. Do you agree to that ideology, since you mentioned emergency funds?
So I would necessarily put it like rent. I'll put it on 6 months worth of cash that you can base your livelihood upon. Like I'm talking about, like you can survive with. Yeah. So it's not just about the rent, because after the rent, what happens? You're gonna feed yourself. You see how other bills that are coming in. So in a situation whereby, I mean, like I said, the plan is to make sure that the savings, what you have in your savings at any point in time. For me, and I'm not trying to make brag about anything. I make because I've had this plan over the time. Yeah. But I can remember the very, very first year of my job, I was I was so eager to save money more than I was so eager to spend money. And I'm being honest with you, like I don't know. I know this is strictly a conversation. Like I was getting aroused from the money in my savings. Like, that was what gets me going.
Excited, like, that's good.
Excited, like, oh, okay. What do I have here? So literally, I could say the minimum you want to have 6 months of the amount that you can live on in case, because there's no job security anywhere. And so far you don't own your own business, or you don't own your own job. Even people that own your own business, take a look at COVID. Happened. People that had restaurants, they couldn't make money anymore. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that what's in your savings, a minimum, and you're right about it, a minimum of 6 months that you can survive on, not just the rent, but your survival at its all. But even when you cut down to the minimum.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that's true. And that's a very good point about like companies. There's no job security, no matter how amazing your job is. Anything can happen at any time. And COVID has taught us a lot. Even when you own a business, like you can't say I own a business, I can live paycheck to paycheck and I'll survive. Anything can happen tomorrow. I don't want a situation where you lose your job and you're now like left, and that's why emergency funds come in. But I think it's been a great conversation so far. Now it comes back to this situation of the credit card system that we have in this country and the countries that we live in, and the fact that as Nigerians we didn't have that growing up. Would you advise, and I know the people that ask for the finance conversations are mostly in Nigeria, and the other part of it, like, oh yes, plan your accounts well, da da da. But what happens to the credit card part where you have these funds there to use, and you're trying to also be responsible for your own finances? Like, how do you play those two situations out?
So that's a very good question, and if you don't mind me, I'll take it lengthy here, maybe like 2-3 minutes here.
Take your time.
Okay, so I mean, when I was opportunity to actually leave Lagos, to move out here, and while I was in school, I had a lot of friends that were like, "Oh, you can go get a credit card right away," but because of the mentality that I've had and the things that I hear in Nigeria is like, I don't want to be in debt. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't want to be in debt of what, like, I know the spirit when you have money that's abound somewhere. I don't want to be in debt. So I had this mentality initially, like I wasn't gonna get a credit card. So when I got my first job, it was a good paying job, right? I still didn't get a credit card, right? I still didn't get a credit card. I was only spending the money that I own. And that was my mindset. Spend the money that you have. But I'll tell you what, that was a huge mistake on my part. And I'm being honest, that was a huge mistake on my part. And I've had to learn, and I've had to actually do a lot of research, speak to people, and this would be something that, so now that I've had people that, are coming after myself, like a couple of friends of mine, I was able to give them this factual, like, hey, this is the advice I have for you. I made this mistake, but that's good. I went through that part, so you don't have to go through that part.
Yeah.
And this is it. The credit card system in the Western world is a very, very good thing to go by. And this goes back to discipline. It's a very, very good part of the system, but it still goes back to discipline. So if you're not so disciplined enough, you find yourself in debt. And I'm being honest with you, I'm talking about $12, $13, $15, $30,000 debt. And so what I started with was, at the time that I imagined, a while ago, I was trying to buy a car. The car was going to cost $22,000, and I went to the and that was when it's actually done. And I went to the dealership, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to cut you a check for 22." The lady looked at me like, "Is everything okay with you? Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Really?" She said, I said, "Oh, I don't want." She said, "Do you have a credit card?" I said, "No." She said, "How about you apply for this car to be financed, put a sum in, and have the money in your savings?" I was like, I don't want to owe no money. And she told me, the value of this car, when you drive this car out of this place, depreciate from 22 to 17 the very day you leave it. So you want to make sure. So she had to sit me down. Can you imagine? She had to sit me down and give me the education of the credit system. And that was when I started getting an idea. Because what she said was, those funds that you have in your savings is not meant for this.
Yeah.
When you call them emergency funds, they should be
emergency funds. Yeah.
Do you get me now? They should be emergency funds and not for issues like this. So what she told me at the time was, put a token down. Have a system whereby you can finance the money. Yeah, they put you on an interest of, but you want to make sure that you build your credit, because the credit system itself, not the credit card now, the credit itself goes a long way. And this is another conversation for another day. What is credit? The credit is your borrowing power.
Yeah.
And this is huge. How like in the Western world, the credit is your borrowing power. And you find out that a lot of successful people around the world do not use their finances to run businesses. They use the credit system. Like, you have someone who has $2 million, will go to the bank and not use this $2 million to do anything. They will take money from the bank and they'll tell the bank, "I'm credit worthy." So you have a lot of people who are very, very rich, right? So that's the difference between the smart, the rich, and the wealthy. Another conversation for another day.
Oh my God.
Being able to use the system, to actually for your own advancement, to your own benefit. So when we talk about credit card, so let me just go back and not go. So let's just put it back down. I was able to get a credit card, and the game was to make sure that I discipline myself to. So what I do with my credit card is what I can afford is what I use my credit card for.
Yep.
But when I mean what I can afford is what's in my checking account. If I have the money, I wouldn't. As a matter of fact, I don't have a debit card right now. I have bank account, but I don't have debit cards.
Yeah.
I only have credit cards because whenever I use the credit card, I go pay it back.
Yeah.
And this is it. So when I want to swipe the card, I look at it. Can I afford it? I look at my own money that I have. Can I afford it? And I mean, there's a way you just at the end of the day, at the end of the month,
you pay it out
or you pay it back. So, like I said, it goes back to discipline. So forgive me. Oof. I went all.
No, that's quite interesting because I know that people talk about the fact that, oh yes, I'm trying to manage my finances, I'm trying to take care of this, but still there's a credit system in the Western world where you're supposed to take care of that too, and also be able to be credit worthy because you want a car tomorrow, you want to get a house, you want some big things for yourself, and you want to do this and do that. Like, how do you get there? How do you build the credit? And I did learn that the credit system is very important. If you don't have the money, do not spend it. Do not swipe. That was the rule I got from I remember talking this over with my friend, and he was like, see, if you don't have the money, do not swipe that credit card. If you know that at the end of the month, when the bill comes, you're not going to be able to pay it out, do not swipe that card. But if you know you're going to be able to pay it, then go ahead and swipe the card. That's basically what it is.
Everything goes back to accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like, how accountable are you? I know a lot of people that they have credit cards and, they're trying to fly. And like, where are you going? I'm going on vacation. Do you have the money? Oh, I mean, I'll pay it over time. I understand that. Yeah. But I have a different mentality to that.
To it, yeah.
Like, do I have the money today? Yes, I see. So I see the money physically in the account,
and then I swipe the card.
And I swipe the card because I know at the end of the month, nothing is wrong. So necessities, what you want. I know all these people. Oh, it's on sale. It's on sale. You don't lie to yourself. Do you need it? Do you need it? Do you need it or do you want it? But hey, I'm not saying I'm the perfect person, but it's worked for me over time, being able to be accountable and to make the right decisions.
Oh, that's quite interesting. I'm glad about the way we've gone about this conversation. Like, the biggest thing to learn, if you're new to, working, earning money, that money looks big and good in your account. The first question you should ask yourself before you begin to swipe all them cards is, do you need it? Is it necessary? In the next 6 months, would you use that thing that you're about to buy? Is what my motto for myself is. If I want to get something, I ask myself, are you going to use the next 6 months? If not, no, go ahead.
All right. I did mention savings. And a lot of people are listening and are like, oh, what's it talking about savings?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
There's another part of it that is investment, but I know you didn't ask about that.
No, go ahead. It's important.
It's quite different from you to just put the money in the account and the money doesn't do anything to you. I'll give you an example. A while ago, there's this thing called CD. And I think it's from a bank. I think it's like a fixed deposit.
Yes.
Whereby you fix your money for like a certain amount of time. They could give you 6 months. They could give you 12 months. And this was about 5 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll tell you, oh, for 6 months, we're going to give you an interest rate for 3-4%. Mm. For 12 months, we're going to give you an interest rate for 5%. So I'm like, okay, why do I have the money just sitting down there without making money work for me? Mm. That was at the time I started having the investment mentality. Of course, over time I've developed and I've been able to do my different investments. Yeah. But at the time, I was coming into it and I was like, oh, okay, how do I do it? So I went to the bank and the bank told me, oh, we're going to give you 2.3%, 2.5% after 12 months, after 6 months. And at the end of the month, at the end of the 6 months, I'm giving you an example now, on $20,000, they only gave me like $80 or $90.
No way.
So you used my money for 6 months or 12 months and you only give me $20. So what I decided to do at the time was I wasn't interested in all those bank businesses. I started doing investments. Now, do not take investments advice from me because
Get an
I've been burnt.
investor.
I've been
Investor.
burnt. Okay, I've been burnt. I did. You know, I mean, and you know this. I did. I did crypto. I did a lot of stuff. I did stocks. I
Mhm.
said, do not take investment advice from me. I've been burnt. But over time, I've been able to.
Right.
I've made mistakes, and I've been able to learn. Okay, some things are volatile. Some things are not volatile. You know, you have things that are. You know, like that it never goes bad. We're talking about real estates and all. We talk about that some other time. Don't
Real
worry.
estate. I always tell my friends who listen to this would know. I only root for real estate investment. If it's not a real estate investment, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear it. But there are other ways, actually, like you mentioned now, to actually invest. There are so many ways. But the thing is, please not take investment advice from us. I'm still learning. I'm still a baby in that whole investment business. I take it a day at a time. I read a lot. I try to see. But you're correct. The investment world is the most volatile world that you can ever talk about.
I mean, you want to make your money work for you, to be
Yeah.
honest. Well, so what I do is I don't and now going back to how I disperse my funds. Now
Yeah.
we have the savings there. Now I'm able to take a certain amount of the savings and listen to this very carefully. A certain amount of savings. Hey, do not take investment advice from me. Do not take all your savings
And
and
invest
go
it.
invest. Now take a quarter of the investment. Still have what we talked about that. But I have, see, someone tells me cash is king. And this goes back to the time I was trying to buy a car cash. I was trying to buy a car and I was trying to pay cash for it. And she was like, no, cash is king. So you want to make the right decisions. After all these investments you make sure you have good cash in your savings that can still help you with survival in case something comes in for minimum of 6 months because cash is king. So no matter how much someone tells you, oh, you don't want to let your money sit down there, you want to make your money work for you, be smart. Be smart. We talked about this. There's enough going on in the investment world that you can go from 10,000 to $5 in the moment. So you
Oof.
want to oh yeah. So you want to make sure that you still have enough cash in your savings account that you're still able to. So don't be smart about things. Okay, be smart about things.
Yeah.
That's just it.
That's very important. And I like the way you mentioned it, because like even when you want to invest, make sure that you still have your 6 months. Like if everything goes to shit and everything's going awry, you still have something to still go back on. Like I can survive for the next 6 months, my bills, everything about my life, I can still sort out. But there's take piece of it. And one thing about investment I always tell people is start small. Don't hear something and you throw all your finances into it and be like, oh, I heard it's gonna be big, it's gonna hit big. No, start small, test your investment power, test things before you throw it all into it. Test something, try it before you go. Read a lot. Don't just hear from someone and say, oh, I want to go.
You're right about that. You have to do your own research. I mean, sometimes I'm sitting down watching I'm watching CNBC or I'm watching Al Jazeera Business News. And my partner asked me, what are you talking about here? I'm like, you have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm looking at some oil vessel that's been stuck in some part of the world. Then you're looking at it, how is that going to affect whatever I have done? Because it affects, trust me, all these little things that happen in the
The
business world
world, yeah.
affects whatever you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're vast, your horizon is expanded, and you're able to like make sure that you're doing your own research and you're not
Yeah.
just taking what, for example, look at Dogecoin, right?
Oof.
A lot of people made money, but a lot of people got burnt.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, the crypto world and all those things. And at the time, I had a very, 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 very smart guy that was telling me at the time, hey, man, just stick to stocks. I'm like, oh, yeah, the stocks is going good, but how this crypto is good. Right now, I was looking up, I was speaking to my portfolio manager. Oh, what do you want right now? He said, you know how the water looks like? Nothing.
Oof. Oh my
All
God.
right.
Oh, that's quite interesting. No, I'm glad that we had this conversation sincerely, because investment, savings, how to take care of your funds is a conversation that even if you start today and I have conversations with so many people, it will never end. It's like an unending conversation, because so many people and it might be sad to say this, but sometimes you have to get burned first to be able to learn, because somebody might tell you what to do and you're not listening. You'll be like, no, I need to go and try it first. I'm sure that this is what you mean is right. But no, I'm glad that we had this conversation. Before we begin to round up, the question I have for you now is, what was one of your biggest mistakes so far in your, like, from the time you started earning your own money, like nobody was helping you out, when you started earning your money, what was your biggest mistake and how did that mistake help you move forward?
Okay. To be honest, the biggest mistake for me so far is not making enough contacts when it comes to the financial world. It's not having enough contact, thinking I could just do it by myself. It's not having consultation, you know, when I started. And when I mean consultation, speaking to friends, I was listening to friends, but I was going on based on what people were saying, based on what the trend was. Was not having a good financial consultation. And this is what I tell everyone now. And like I said, it could be a conversation for another day, like I keep saying. But what I learned from that is the fact that at every point of my life, even if it's career-wise, even if it's financial-wise, or even if it's spiritual, we're talking about Christianity now, always try to have a mentor.
Yes.
Someone who's been there, who you can learn from, and I've made mistakes, and now I've had to, have a mentor even in faraway Nigeria, to be honest with you. Someone who's been there, who's done that. Like, I can see the success where they are. I can see the physical success from them. And I approach them. I'm like, oh, this is me. I'm talking about someone who retired at 45 or 46 from an oil company called Shell. And you're looking at it like, so how did he make his plan that he retired before 50 from an oil company that was paying good money? Well, because he's had his plans 20, 25 years down the line. He's on the seed already, and he's been able to. So right now, I was able to approach him and tell him, sir, help me. This is where I am with finances. These are mistakes I'm making. How can you help me? And it puts you in, there are some kind of deals that they tell you, oh, I know you can do it, but you know what? I'll partner with you and I'll call another friend of mine who come in and will put that big money down. And now you're beginning to sit down like, oh my God. But I wouldn't have been able, I wouldn't have been able to do that by myself. We're talking about some investment that they tell you that this is the minimum. I'm like, I don't even have to.
Yeah.
Like, well, we do it every year. We do this investment every year. You know what? I'll call someone else and bring your quota and we put it in. And I've been able to learn, and they'll show me the trends and how things work. And so, yeah, I made mistakes, but I was able to learn. And the point is, you have to get a mentor who's going to show you the road.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And my last question would be, so to anybody who just came out of university, like undergrad, let's never say masters, just came out of undergrad, now has a 9 to 5 and in 40 hours, I'm going to say, let's say at the end of the month, I would ask you to talk two places, and I hope you can answer both. In Nigeria, they're earning about, 500K a month. And, in Nigeria, 500K, well, I don't know how with the way things are right now, but 500K looks to any regular mind is like, that's big money. And someone who is here with us in the Western world that earns, let's say, 15K a month, them like tech bros or someone who's a hospital and is earning good. And of course, in that kind of light, as a young undergrad who just came out, you want to have the world. What would you be your advice for that person? What do you think they should prioritize in their life?
My advice would be for whoever it is to just try to have a good consultation when it comes to finances. Now, do not take investment advice from me, but I still want the person to kind of have the mindset that this is temporary. Yes, it's not temporary, but you leave it like it's temporary. Like, how much can I stack? How much can I stack in savings? But my first, set a goal. Put yourself in don't go from, please, let me tell you, I was from 0 to 100 real quick. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Baby steps. So you want to make sure that you set goals and you put it aside some money. You know what? Something funny in the first year, how about don't invest? Just save.
Thank you.
I'm talking about aggressive saving. I'm talking about savings that your friends are going to call you, let's ball tonight. I'm like, no.
Sorry, I can't.
Well, I know this is the world we live in. We want to ball, we want to do stuff. So how about you put it to the minimum, okay? I'm not going out every weekend. I still don't go out every weekend. And I'm out here looking at my friends like, oh my God. We were out last week. We're out this week again. How are you guys doing it? Like, don't we do the same job? You know what I mean? But the fact is, you have to have self-control and discipline. Set a goal. my thing will be your first year, try to be aggressive. See what you can stack up. The second year, you can give yourself a little breather, try it. But the first year, make sure, because it's all temporary. And another thing is human skills is another conversation for another day. You got to develop your human skills to make sure that you got to get better. And we're talking about another fact that you have to have a good network system. And this is huge. Another conversation for another day. The network system. Oh my God. See, someone tells you that, oh, I got this on merit. You can imagine what you can get with having a good network.
Yeah.
Like people just tell you, oh yeah, you can do it. That's it. And that's it. Forget about the merit now. So things are changing. I know while we're growing up, they tell us, oh, you gotta have good brain to be a right now. Forget about
it. But network is huge. I agree with you.
It's huge. So another conversation for another day.
Thank you so much for that advice, because sincerely, I agree with you where you say, and someone told me that way back when I finished from undergrad, someone was like, do not begin to leave your finances once you start earning that money. Do not begin to live like you're earning, like, don't change your lifestyle from living like if you were earning 1,000 naira before, now you're earning 500k. Do not adjust to earning 500k, but rather just adjust to earning 10,000. In the sense that do not begin to rack up your bills so quick, because if anything happens to that job any day, anytime, you fall back to a situation where you cannot uphold it because you've been very ruthless. And like Ole said, this thing don't last. Nothing lasts forever. So rather than, just going to spending, living the biggest houses, balling every weekend, why not go into aggressive saving to make sure that you put yourself on a solid foundation, so that then if anything happens, that you're good. And then human skills, like you said, like the fact that you're earning right now, you're doing great, doesn't mean that you should stop advancing yourself or improving yourself. Because if anything happens to your job tomorrow, you want to be able to get another job that's better than what you had before, which is, like I said, conversation for another day. But thank you so much for having this conversation with us. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. And I hope you had fun, discussing this with me today.
Oh, yeah.
You did say amazing points and tips for us. And I'm sure every other person that's listening has enjoyed listening to us today. Thank you so much, Kule, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it so much, don't forget to share. Let your friends know. Let your sister, brothers, uncle, mothers, fathers know about it. It can help anybody. This can help anybody at all. So go ahead and share it. If you also have a question, comments, things you like me to do more, or anything you like me to hear, go ahead and leave me an email. Check the description and you will find my email there, and I would love to hear back from you guys. Thank you so much once again, and until next time, keep living, keep loving, and ensure that you're living your truth. And until the next podcast, have a wonderful day. Bye guys.